Hey guys, let's make some cakes, period. Hey guys, welcome back to Yes Honey Pastries, where I show you how to easily and effortlessly decorate elegantly looking pastries. Okay, well I got that in the first take. What? All right, guys, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to talk about cake decorating 101. We're going to get down to the basics today. So I'm going to teach you guys how to properly and easily stack and fill your cake layers as well as crumb coating. All of these steps are very essential for decorating a cake. It gives you a good professional finish, a great solid foundation. Crumb coating actually helps your cake stay moist. Properly stacking your cake and filling your cakes actually help your cakes level out and let them look very good and professional when you're presenting them to your customer. Also, it's going to draw the crowd. Even if you don't want to be a cake decorator and just want to decorate a really nice, professional, elegant looking cake, this is definitely the video for you. So we're going to get right into it. Let's get into the video. Let's get right into it, period. Well, okay, this is the final look of your cake with the crumb coat after you're done filling and stacking your cake layers. So this crumb coat is going to make sure that all these crumbs stay on this cake, and I'm going to show you exactly how we'll be doing that today. So let's get right into it. After choosing your desired cake board, you want to make sure you clean it, wipe it down with the towel, and then you want to go ahead and place some icing or frosting on the cake board to make sure that the cake stays on the cake board while you're decorating. Next, we're going to use a serrated knife to cut off the very top of the cake so that we can have a more even cake when we're stacking our cake layers. When we're filling and stacking our cake layers, I take the knife, I hold it in place, and I use the turntable. This process helps me get a more even cut on my cake layer so that when I do stack and fill my cake, it looks nice and even. And the little edges that I have, I normally just take some scissors, my pastry scissors, and kind of clip that off if there are any excess layers. This is how I make sure my cakes are evenly stacked. My cake layers are evenly stacked, is I make sure to the best of my ability that my cake is flat as it can be and even. Your cakes are not always going to come out baked, flat, and even, so you will have to kind of cut a little bit for me. Also, guys, make sure you have some towels on hand so that you can keep your area clean, because when filling and stacking your cakes, it does get a bit messy. So you want to absolutely make sure you keep those towels on hand so you can clean as you go. Don't say I did not warn you, okay? Period. I also use a clean damp towel underneath my cake board when I'm frosting and filling and decorating my cakes, because this prevents the cake from moving around while I'm decorating. It prevents the board from sliding. Now, starting with the outside of the cake, we're going to work our way in, filling our cake with our desired frosting. Today, I'll be using my traditional buttercream frosting recipe for the filling in this cake. I'll also leave a link to the description box, in the description box, and also a link at the end of the video for my traditional buttercream frosting, which is super easy and super delicious. So we're going to go ahead and spread that around our cake. Also, guys, keep in mind that we're going to use this turntable to our full advantage. So when I'm filling and spreading out my icing between my layers, I'm pressing down into the cake, but not too hard, just firm enough to spread that icing all over the top portion of the cake, but not actually digging into the cake. And we want to make sure that our cake is very cold during this process. It can even be close to frozen, but not too frozen to where it would be too hard for you to actually cut into the cake before you start your filling process. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and cut the second layer. As you can see, guys, I'm using the turntable to turn the cake while the knife is cutting straight through the cake. So I'm keeping my knife in one place and I'm using the turntable, letting the knife do most of the work. This is going to make sure my cake is even. You may have to do just a little bit more cutting just to cut off the little part of excess, just to keep making sure that the cake is still even. And once again, for our second layer, we're going to go ahead and cut off the little excess edges, because when we're icing our cake, if those excess edges are sticking out, it'll be a little bit difficult for you to get the icing even and smooth on the sides of the cake when you're doing your final layer of frosting. This is how I keep my cakes stacked and they look even and straight at the top, if that makes sense, as well as flat, and it's not offset. So this is the best way for me to do it. If you guys have another way, please leave me a comment and I will definitely look into that. There are several ways, but for me, this is the easiest, especially when you don't have a lot of tools, especially when you don't really need a lot of tools. It just takes a little bit more time and it's more accurate in my personal and humble opinion. So we're going to go ahead and fill our second layer the same way that we did our first layer, using our piping bag and our frosting, starting on the outside and coming around towards the inside and spreading that icing out with our spatula. We're not digging too much into the cake. The spatula that I'm using today is a 6-inch offset spatula made by Wilton. I'll definitely leave an affiliate link to a spatula just like this. It may not have the purple holder like this one does, because I don't think they make this one anymore. I've had it for so long. Definitely a great tool to have. So I went on ahead and spreaded all of the icing around on the second layer, as well as the same way I did from the first layer. We're going to make sure that we bring those edges in after we spread out the icing and make sure that it's even. We're going to go all the way around on the top of the cake just to make sure that the cake is still pretty even. So guys, if you can just imagine, while we're doing this process, we want to make sure that each layer that we stack, the icing is even. So I'm going to do the same thing with the third layer, but I'm going to speed up the video just a bit because I think you guys got the gist of the cutting and cleaning up over your edges. So I'm going to just speed it up just a bit here. And you might find this a bit tedious. This is a method that I do recommend. I try my best to put out the best product as I can. I always treat all of my cakes with tender love and care and time to make sure that it looks good, not only look good, but also tastes good. This is the process that I use each and every time. There are other ways, but for me, this just works. All right, and we got our third layer on. We're going to go ahead and make sure that it's even. Once again, make sure that it's aligned with the cake. Sometimes it won't always be aligned, but we can absolutely fix that with adding just a little bit of icing to the inside where it meets in the middle. On the outside of the cake. So after we do that, we're going to go ahead and not fill, because we already filled the cake. We're going to cover our cake with our crumb coating frosting. So our crumb coating frosting is going to be whatever frosting that you will be using, but that frosting needs to be thinned out, adding water to where it's really thin, not too thick, because if the icing is still thick and heavy, it's going to pull on your cake. So the reason why we use a little bit of icing, we use a little bit of water added to our icing so that we can thin it out, to make it easy for us to do the crumb coat, to make it easy for us to maneuver around the cake using our spatula, to make it easy enough so that when we are doing our crumb coating, we're sealing in those crumbs and not actually pulling on the crumbs of the cake, because the icing is just thin enough to hold in all of those crumbs. So once we get the icing around on our cake, we're going to spread it out. And keep in mind, your cake should definitely still be cold during this process. So we're going to spread it out. Even guys, if you have to take your cakes out one at a time out of the refrigerator and stack it and fill it, that may work for you. But at this point, I move pretty quick to where I can kind of keep them all out at once. But you may want to just leave them in there and take it out one by one to make sure they stay cold. So basically what I'm doing here is spreading that crumb coating frosting all around my cake, making sure that it gets all of those crumbs. Lastly, I am going to use my cake scraper or my bread scraper, and I'm going to go all the way around my cake to press that icing into the cake, make sure that it's on the cake and all of my crumbs are sealed in all around the cake. And then we're going to go ahead and go over the top of the cake with our cake scraper and pulling those edges so that we can make sure when we're doing our final layer of frosting that those aren't sticking out. And guys, once we are done with this crumb coating process, we will need to place our cake in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes or in the freezer for about 10 minutes before we add our final layer of frosting, guys. And this is the method for stacking, filling, and crumb coating your cake, which is very essential. It's a very good foundation before frosting and decorating your cake to make sure that when you do that final layer of frosting, you don't see any crumbs in your cake. You have that crisp color, whatever color you're using, and it just looks really nice, really clean, really professional, and even, especially if you have to stack your cakes. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video. And as always, I will catch you next time. See you in the next video.